So this is a Total War Warhammer battle between me and Joe. I'm playing as the Empire, he's playing as the Vampire Counts. Set to large funds on the map Southern Chaos Waste because it's the flattest map we could find. And yep, I've brought the scummiest spearman spam, lots of S's, that you could ever hope to see, and the very underpowered, weak Demigryph Knights, along with one measly little crossbow, Balthazar Gayboy, and this little the Pope. He's brought a full horror rush. So I'll fast forward a bit until the actual engagement starts. So first of all, there's a bit of skirmishing with the Lords, as per usual on these type of battles. And while focusing on moving my Lord around, he managed to get a very good shot off on my Demigryph Knights. Now, I do manage to catch him with a final transmutation, Overcast, but he does get my Demigryph Knights with Spirit Leech. I'm not sure why he used Spirit Leech instead of the Fate of Juna, but whatever. It still did quite a bit of damage. Although Manfred himself is about to take a full hit from the Bright Wizard. Now the Bright Wizard's version of direct damage I find quite useful because of its long range, whereas Spirit Leech has quite a short range, which is Manfred's version, and Balthazar Gelt's final transmutation, which is also available to any sorcerer with Law of Metal available to him, has a medium range of 200, so it's about between the range of the Bright Wizard and the Spirit Leech. So here, Spirit Leech is overcasted in order to hit my Bright Wizard, which increases its effective range. So I just managed to catch Manfred with one last Burning Glaze, Gaze even. Burning Glaze of icing. So I make the mistake of overextending my wizard slightly, and forgetting that he will get absolutely bummed by Manfred in combat. So I start to move him away, but only after he gets Spirit Leeched and hit with the Fated Buna. Oh no, sorry, that's not the Bright Wizard, that is Balthazar himself. So I'll fast forward a little bit while the armies move up. So his front line, to screen my crossbows mainly that he was expecting, is zombies. And moving in the Crypt Horrors behind can be useful, but I wouldn't happen to bring them against the Empire because of their ability to spam spears, as I've done here. Now, the way in which I've attacked here was by selecting all units, doing Control G and pressing the little padlock symbol, which allows the units to stay in formation. Then by holding down the Alt button and double right clicking on enemies, they will move forward and attack the closest enemy, which is useful for frontline engagements like this. Now here you can see that Manfred Spirit Leeched my Balthazar Gelt until he died, and is now chasing down the Bright Wizard until he will also kick the bucket in the end. As you can see, the spears don't just engage the zombies, they engage the Graveguard, because they're the closest unit. Although Joe makes a mistake here of leaving the Crypt Horrors open to getting charged by other spears. At this point I remember Demigryph Knights are going to be my win condition for this battle. So I send in Demigryph Knights against the Crypt Horrors, bringing in the Halberd 1 second because their charge bonus is smaller, and they have the largest bonus versus large, including monsters, in the game, which is, let me just check, I believe 32, yep. So you can see here when they're brought in against these Crypt Horrors, the health of the Crypt Horrors just starts dropping absolutely insanely. and they instantly start crumbling and withering away. Brought in the Demigryph Knights here for a quick rear charge on the Grave Guard, as they are anti-infantry, not anti-cavalry. Now you can see that my main line has crippled away after holding for a while, which is perfectly fine because they were just 300 spears, they were crap anyway. Now, leaving such an expensive unit as a White King here is not exactly going to be beneficial, cost effective wise. But bringing Manfred in here to boost the morale of his Grave Guard doesn't quite work because Manfred is himself about to die. Here you can see he did bring in some, I think they're skeleton spears, yeah, which were starting to bring down the Demigryphs, so I immediately moved them out of this engagement. Then moved to micromanage somewhere else and allowed them to get hit in the rear, which was of course very clever. Here you can see the spears start to come back anyway, which starts to break up his formation, which is perfect for the Demigryphs to just start mopping up little engagement like this. Now against a full main line of skeleton spears, the Demigryph Knights wouldn't have stood a chance, but by breaking up the enemy forces with routing units, like my spears that keep coming back over and over again and being an absolute pain for him, it allows me to isolate the units and destroy them with the Demigryphs. You can see here that he's bringing in Manfred. I'm not sure if Manfred has regeneration, I don't think so. No, but by using Master of the Black Arts he's going to regen a lot of Winds of Magic. You can see here that the last remaining pitiful little men of the main line are getting stomped by the Grave Guard. And of course over here the Crypt Horrors defeated spears, because spears are shit. Although these spears do come back, I didn't notice them for a while though, which is a mistake on my part. These Demigryphs will come into action in a minute. Now over here this entire flank was mopped up, which included Crypt Horrors and Skeleton Spears, which are dealt with by my Spearmen and multiple rear charges from the non-halberd Demigryphs. It's important to note that the non-halberds aren't amazing against large, whereas the halberd versions aren't 100% great against spear units. They can easily get defeated by something like a Skeleton Spearman in combat, so it's important not to let them get bogged down. Here though I noticed that he left Manfred way too close to my crossbows, and I think he notices it as well, which is why he starts moving away, and I allow the crossbows to get hit in the rear by the White King, which is again a mistake. So I'm focusing more on these Demigryphs, pulling out the halberd ones so that his attack order is on the wrong unit, and bring in the Demigryph Knights without halberds as their charge bonus is larger. I'll just get rid of this. Now these spears over here, I decided not to move them too far in because I want to keep them to bait out his units separately. So I just pack them into a tight formation so they can withstand charges. Now at the moment we're both struggling with micromanagement because of the spreading out of this battle across the entire map. Although you can see these little pockets of spearmen I'm regrouping into dense formations, just to slowly encircle what's left of his forces. These Crypt Horrors, it's a good idea to chase down the routing units so that they don't come back and form up again. But now that this unit has fully shattered the spears, like they're probably not going to come back, there's not enough of them in the unit. He can charge them into these spearmen instead. Now, over here, you can see that his Crypt Horrors almost catch my Demigryph Knights, and I keep allowing him to just about catch them, to give me an opportunity for me to attack with these spears. Now I do bring these spears in eventually to help with the Crypt Horrors. You can see here that he did stray too close with Manfred, and if we view his health, it has fallen ever so slightly. But he moves just out of range before I can finish him off, and my crossbows get caught by Grave Guard. Now, I brought in some spears from over here to over here, which allows me to bring a force that might be able to take on a Graveguard, or at least hold it until a rear charge is available from a Demigryph. And these Demigryphs, you can see with halberds, even though they're meant for anti-large, in a rear charge they can still devastate a high tier unit such as a Graveguard. Now these spears, to be honest, I forgot about, but that's fine anyway because they're keeping these two units busy on that side of the map. Now here you can see I brought in the spearmen and pulled out the Demigryphs in order to deal with the Graveguard that are left. But you can sort of see the ineffectiveness of spears against large units, even though it's meant to be their specialisation, by the fact that two units here are getting beaten back by one unit of Crypt Horrors. Now, one of the ways that I think Crypt Horrors are so effective is because of their regeneration. So when they start crumbling later, their regeneration will help them. Now, he brings in Manfred into this blob, which is a mistake because he believes he can fly him out again, but the Demigryphs stop him from doing so. And as we know, the Vampire Count army without its Vampire just crumbles in minutes. These Graveguards start crumbling because the Lord died, and these ones have got charged by Demigryphs. So you can see here the Crypt Horrors do start crumbling, and they're fighting against Shaken Spearmen, who outnumber them and are apparently winning the combat. However, the Crypt Horrors then make the Spearmen waver, and they eventually do win that fight, which to me doesn't make sense. Even though the Crypt Horrors do cost more, they're not supposed to be put against spears. As you can see, the crumbling takes their health down, but if you watch the health stat, it's brought back up again every so often by the regeneration of the unit. So you can see here these spears have baited his skeleton spears way too far out to support the Graveguard and the Crypt Horrors against my Demigryph Knights. And with the White King and Manfred now down, there isn't really much you can do. The balance of power doesn't say that the battle is in my favour, but as his last Graveguards disintegrate, I can pin down the Crypt Horrors with Demigryphs and bring in spears to support. Now you can see what I mean with this combat over here, by the way that they just completely shat on these two Spearman units, even though they're crumbling. Now this is beneficial and negative for the Vampire Counts faction, the way that they crumble instead of routing, because it feels as if, compared to previous Total Wars, once a unit routs, it's very likely to come back. So the way that Vampire Counts just die instead can be disadvantageous most of the time. You can see here that the Crypt Horrors are actually faring worse after the Spearmen have routed, because they're crumbling, than when they were in combat, because by winning the combat it was actually helping their morale and stopping them crumble as much. So their health slowly falls away, and the balance of power tips in my favour, with one final unit of skeleton spearmen left. You can just see the final Crypt Horrors still slamming the spearmen in their bums, but eventually they'll go down. Just magically fall apart because, you know, realism. The last one here bites the dust. So he knows at this point it's all over, and attempts to brace for the incoming Demigryph charge. And this to me is just a demonstration of how pathetic spears are on this game, and how ridiculous Demigryph Knights are. Because spears have a bonus versus large, and charge defense against large foes, which means when they're braced like this, they should negate the charge bonus of Demigryph Knights. However, the mass of the Demigryph Knights still bowls them over, and this just completely disintegrates the skeleton spears within seconds. So that's about it for this battle. A Pyrrhic victory apparently, but I think it was close. You can see the bodies of the main line here. And if we just review this very quickly, Spearmen, as expected, didn't really perform very well apart from the odd kills on zombies, which are very low value kills. The wizards I could have used more effectively by not allowing them to get overstretched, although the loss of my generals was of less impact to me than the loss of his general to him, because the vampire counts are heavily reliant on the binding of their lord. So the crypt horrors were relatively effective, getting a decent amount of kills on demigryph knights and spears, along with the one crossbow unit. Skeleton spearmen did not really perform as they should have. The graveguard were highly effective against the poor units that I brought, but you can see here what carried the day, just completely destroying the enemy graveguard. These 4 demigryph, honestly any unit in the game will just get destroyed by demigryphs in a straight up charge, even if they're braced. And a formula often for winning in this game just consists of bring 4 demigryphs and equals win. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, that's it for this battle. I will see you in the next one.